Resourceful Designer, episode 150, Setting Micro Goals for Your Design Business.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now your host, Mark DeCote. Thanks for letting me record your past 150 intros, Mark. Here's to the next 150.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate the time you spend listening to me as we discuss growing our design business. In this episode, I'm going to tell you how using micro goals can help you succeed in your larger goals. I'm also going to share a resource of the week that easily removes backgrounds from photos, before ending with a question from Vincent about competing with on-demand services for design work. Now, it's been a pretty good week for me this week. I've been spending a good amount of time on a personal project I've been working on, so those are always fun. I've also been contracted to do a few podcast cover arts this week, and I started working on a website for a company that my son is starting. And finally, we had our very first mastermind meeting for the Resourceful Designer community. And I think it went very well. I'm looking forward to our future meetings and getting to know these people much better as we get intimate, you could say, getting to know each other, our design business, and helping each other to grow. So that's been my week. Now, as always, I'd like to share a resource of the week with you. And this week's resource is a website called Remove Background, or remove.bg. And remove.bg is a free service to remove backgrounds from any photo. And it works 100% automatically. You don't have to manually select the background and the foreground and all that stuff. All you do is drop your image in there and it automatically processes it for you, and the results show up with the background removed. Now, I've watched some demos, I've seen some other people test it out, and I've tested it out with a few photos. And I have to tell you, this site is pretty amazing at what it does. It is not 100% perfect. There are some instances where there's some touch-up required, but the touch-ups are so minimal, and it is so fast in how it does it, that I think you definitely want to check it out. Now, right now, it only works with photos with people in it. So if you have a car and you want to remove the background or something else, it won't work. It's the AI behind it. According to their website, the AI is set to identify people in the foreground and then remove everything that is not those people. Now, one of the drawbacks of the site is that currently, it doesn't matter what size image you upload, the resulting file you get is limited to a maximum size of 500 by 500 pixels. So 500 pixels in whatever direction. But according to the site, they are working on increasing that limit. So right now, remove.bg is great for images that you're going to be using on web, but I wouldn't use it for anything that's going to be used on print. But for web work, it's definitely a keeper as far as resources go. I've been removing backgrounds in Photoshop for years, and yes, it's getting easier and easier to do in Photoshop, but I just can't get over how quick and how good a job they do in a matter of seconds. You literally drag and drop a photo on the window, and within a couple of seconds, there's your image with the background removed. So if you want to check it out, if you do web work and you require images with backgrounds removed from time to time, check them out at remove.bg. And if you do, send me a note and let me know what you think. And now, setting goals for your design business. Now, since this is the last episode to be published in the month of January, and since January is the month most associated with resolutions and setting goals, I thought I would share the concept of micro goals with you. Now, I first talked about goals way back in episode 55 of the podcast. In that one, I talked about SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-related. And if you want to know more about setting goals for your design business, go back and listen to episode 55. But those are end goals, the finish line, if you will, what you want to achieve in the long run. And those goals are important. You need those goals in order to measure and achieve both personal and professional success. Without goals, there's no way to know when you've reached a milestone or a certain level of success. There's a certain, satisfaction in accomplishing goals. In fact, it's been scientifically proven that accomplishing goals releases dopamine, which is a bodily chemical associated with happiness. Now, unfortunately, there are plenty of goals that people set that go unaccomplished. And mostly, that's due to a lack of urgency. The reason some people don't reach their goals is because they concentrate too much on that end point, the goal itself, and not on how to get to that goal, how to accomplish it, the journey that is required, all the small steps needed to reach that end goal. And that's what micro goals are for. Now, similar to the projects and tasks that I talked about back in episode 66 of the podcast, and you can listen to that one if you're curious about how to divide your projects into tasks, micro goals are the day-to-day or the hour-by-hour steps required to reach your loftier end goals. What micro goals do is they make those end goals seem less daunting. And when they're less daunting, there's less chance of them going unaccomplished. For example, losing 100 pounds seems like a daunting, hard to achieve goal to many people. However, if you set a micro goal to lose 10 pounds or to lose 5 pounds, and then just repeat that 10 or 20 times, you'll eventually reach that 100-pound goal. And you get the bonus of feeling good about yourself each time you complete a micro goal. Every time you lose 5 pounds, you'll feel good about yourself. And then you move on to the next one. What micro goals do is they give you a path to walk upon. You see, an end goal is something that you want to achieve in the future. But sometimes getting to that future from now isn't very clear. So micro goals act as stepping stones to help you along the way. Where a goal might be weeks, months, or possibly even years in the future, micro goals are for tomorrow, today, now. They're easy to concentrate on. There's less chance that you'll lose focus on them because they're more immediate. And that will increase your completion rate on these micro goals. Let's say that you set a goal that 3 months from now, you'll have your own design business up and running. Well, that's a great goal to have. But what do you do between now and 3 months from now to make sure you realize that goal? You set micro goals. And when I say set micro goals, it's not just thinking these things through. I'm actually talking about writing a list, itemizing the things that need to get done. That's how you succeed at your big goals. Those are those stepping stones, is the itemized list of what you need to do. So if your goal is to start a design business and have it up and running within 3 months, your micro goals may look something like this. Number 1, decide if you want to operate under your own name or if you want to be under a business name. If so, then come up with a business name. Number 2, complete the paperwork to register your business. Number 3, choose and register a domain name. Number 4, set up your email accounts once you have that domain name. Number 5, design a logo for yourself or your business. Number 6, build a website for the business. Number 7, design your business cards. Number 8, set up bank accounts for your business. Number 9, reach out to family and friends and let them know that you started a business. All these micro goals are reminders of what you need to do each day until you reach your goal of launching a business. So you work through them and check them off one at a time. Complete the paperwork to register your business. Once that paperwork is filed, you check it off. Once you register a domain name, you check it off. Then you easily set up your email accounts and you check it off. You're making progress. Micro goals give you a reminding push. Because they're so small and easy to accomplish, they make you start doing things now that may otherwise get pushed off. These micro goals act as a reminder that these things need to get done in order to make progress towards your end goal. And they're also reminders of that progress that you're making as you complete each one. As you check them off, you know that you're making progress. You're getting closer to that goal because these things are now done and you see the list of other things that you need to do. The problem that most people face when they don't set these micro goals, when they don't itemize them, think them out, list them, is that they fall victim to procrastination. You may feel that your end goal is still months or even years away, so it's not a priority right now, today. So you may put it off. I'll work on it this afternoon. I'll work on it tomorrow. I'll work on it next week. And eventually those times expand and months go by and you haven't made any progress. Micro goals help you keep on course and help you build momentum. You want to hear something funny? That momentum that you get by completing all these micro goals, as you complete one and then you move on to the next and you move on to the next, the momentum will actually make you feel good about your accomplishments and push you to do even more to get the next one done. And that's that dopamine effect that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. Your body releases dopamine whenever you experience a pleasurable sensation, such as completing a micro goal. This effect is associated with our body's reward system, motivating us to crave it even more. And that means a greater motivation to tackle the next micro goal in order to feel good again. So the more you accomplish, the more you're going to want to accomplish because you feel good. According to Psychology Today, everything from making your bed to doing all the dishes will give you that ding, ding, ding feeling of having completed a task. Neurobiologically, the satisfaction of completing a task creates internal rocket fuel that energizes you and keeps you working towards that larger end goal. And according to the Harvard Business Review, the more frequently you experience that sense of progress, the more likely you are to be creatively productive in the long run. It doesn't matter how much is left to reach your end goal, making these tiny strides can make a huge difference in how you feel and perform today. Isn't the human body an amazing thing? The more you accomplish towards reaching an end goal, the more your body makes you feel good about it. Now, another thing that micro goals help with is time management. Most of us have more than one long-term goal. In fact, you should have more than one long-term goal. And sometimes those multiple goals that we have, they compete with our attention. And it's hard for us to prioritize them. We have a limited amount of time every day to do work. So which goal should we concentrate on? If you're looking at it in the big picture, in these end goals, it can get very confusing and again, very daunting. But because micro goals often have very small time frames associated with them, they allow you to cut through that confusion by letting you work towards multiple end goals all at once. You spend an hour or two on one, then you take a few minutes and complete another one, and then maybe spend the afternoon on a third. By the end of the day, you will have made progress on multiple end goals and you'll feel good about yourself. Now, in order to get started with micro goals, you need to ask yourself a question. What individual steps, once accomplished, will bring me closer to my end goal? And you write out those micro goals and then start working on them. Start checking them off. You'll quickly learn to appreciate all these minor accomplishments. And once again, you'll feel good about the progress you're making towards your end goals. Some examples, let's say you already have a design business up and running and you want to double your revenue this year. Well, here are some micro goals that may help you in that aspect. Call one single client you haven't talked to in a while and ask if there's anything you can do for them. You do that? That's one goal checked off or micro goal checked off. Send out an email to your existing clients asking for referrals. That's another micro goal checked off. Another micro goal that may help you in doubling your revenue is just simply reading a chapter in a business or marketing book that can help you with business growth. That can be a goal for the day. You read a chapter at breakfast, at lunch, before bed. Set yourself a micro goal to read one chapter per day. Or maybe just simply review your pricing strategy, how you're pricing your jobs. Maybe simply increasing your rates is all you need to double your revenue. These are just a few very basic examples of micro goals that you can use to double your revenue. The whole point of today's podcast episode is, again, January, the beginning of the year, is the time where we make resolutions. We set goals for ourselves. But we all know that many of those things are never accomplished. But those goals were set with a purpose in mind. We set them for a reason because we want to accomplish them. We don't just set a goal for ourselves haphazardly and saying, well, I hope that we reach this, but if we don't, it's no big deal. No, goals are usually something you want to accomplish. But unfortunately, many of them never do get accomplished. And that's why setting micro goals is so important. And it might be a process that you do automatically. But the trick is to actually write these down and actually think about what these things are. I've used this trick over and over through my business career and personal life as well. I always write down the things I need to do. Every day I have a list of what I have to do. Some of it is tasks and project related, but some of them are goal related. Things I need to do now, things that I should do today in order to accomplish a goal that I have set for myself weeks, months, years down the road. So what goals do you have for your future? Take some time and break them down into the smallest possible actionable units and then get working on them. Pick a micro goal, finish it, and then move on to the next one. And then repeat that over and over and over again. And before you know it, you'll be reaching all of your goals that you've set for yourself and for your business. And don't forget to enjoy that dopamine hit along the way. Now, I would love to know if you are consciously using micro goals in your daily life. Do you actually think out your end goals and break them down into smaller actionable chunks and write out a list that you can check off? Please let me know by visiting the show notes page for this episode at resourcefuldesigner.com, episode 150, and leaving a comment letting me know. And now, this week's question of the week. This week's question comes in from Vincent. It says, I'm just starting to get my business going, and I already have some good traction with some local churches that have asked for quotes. I'm encountering a decent amount of questions about services like ChurchCo that will create a custom on-demand website for you and are charging $20 to $40 per month for the service. I would assume that you have come across some of these. Do you have any advice on how to show the value positioning of going with a true web designer versus a service like this? Well, thank you for the question, Vincent. And yes, I have encountered these before in the past. I haven't had a lot of dealings with clients that had this sort of question, but it has come up before, and I do know of many places. I was not familiar with ChurchCo, but I did look it up. You provided the link at thechurchco.com. So I did look them up to see what they offer. And just like many other sites like this, they're very commodity driven. They're not solutions driven. What I mean by that is you can tell that they're more interested in getting as many clients as they can than in providing the right solution for their clients. In their minds, their solution that they have fits everybody. And as designers, we know that that's not the case. Every individual, every company that has a problem that they're coming to a designer for has a unique and individual solution. There's no one solution fits all. And that's something I've told my clients before. In this case, not all churches are the same. An urban church in the middle of a downtown city will need a much different website and just overall visual impact than a rural church that's serving a small community out in the country. Now, in the case of ChurchCo itself, because I did look through their website, it seems like they're putting a lot of the burden on the client itself. They claim that they have a lot of solutions, but there's a lot of places on the website where it talks about you build your website, we'll provide the platform and you build your website. So they're asking the client to do a lot of the work. Now, I'm a little confused because there are some other places on their website where they talk about we will build your website. But again, I'm afraid that what they're doing is they have their solution that they've already come up with before they actually hear the client's problem. And they think it's the solution for everything. Now, another big thing that I've always told my clients when it comes to anything like this is the relationship part of the partnership between the designer and the client. These on-demand services, they don't create relationships with their clients. They're working with so many people that the client just becomes another number in their system. When you're talking to them, yes, they might talk to you and they'll know you, but they never truly get to know who you are, what you need, who you service. In these cases, these churches, they probably see so many churches that they can't identify one from the other. And there's no way they can provide the perfect solution for an individual church because of that. Where a true one-on-one web designer, yes, they'll probably be more expensive, but that web designer will probably get to know this client and work one-on-one with this client, solving their immediate and personal problems in order to come up with a perfect solution for that individual church's problems. So there are many different arguments you can share with them, but I will be honest with you, Vincent, it is really hard to compete with these places, especially if you go in and give a quote of, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, and then they see that this place can do it for $20 to $40 per month. It becomes very hard to convince a client that you're worth the price. Now, I just called up the website again. I wanted to double check something, and on thechurch.co, their basic plan is $20 per month. Then they have a $50, and then they have their ultimate plan for $200 per month. Well, one thing you can tell the client is, yeah, that sounds really good, but at those cheaper prices, a lot of the features that they advertise that they offer are not available to you. You have to pay the higher premiums if you want those features. And in the long run, if they keep this website for 3, 4, 5 years, in the long run, it'll probably end up costing them more. Yes, it's easier to manage up front because it's a smaller monthly fee, but in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, it'll end up costing them a lot more than having a custom website built by a designer and then the smaller monthly fee of managing it. So those are all some of the things that I would share with a client if I was in your situation. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of direction that you can go with. But keep in mind that there's some clients that they will look at it and all they will see will be $20, $40, $50 per month is a lot easier to cope with right now than a couple of $1,000s for a website. And in those cases, you just have to thank them and let them know that in the future, if they ever need you, you'll still be around. So thank you very much for your question, Vincent. Now, I would love to answer your question in a future episode of the podcast. Please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback and submit yours today. So that's it for this episode. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'd like to ask you to please share the podcast with a friend. If you know a designer or if you're part of a design community, please let them know about Resourceful Designer. Tell them it's available on any podcast app as well as Spotify, and they can even download the Resourceful Designer apps for both Apple and Android. So that's it for me this week. I want to end the show by wishing you all the best with your graphic design business. And until next time, I am Mark Decote, reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.